Look, I'm not the paranoid type. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't jump at shadows. And I've lived alone most of my adult life without ever once sleeping with a baseball bat under the bed. But that changed last spring. And I swear to you, if this hadn't happened to me, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it either. I'd think it was one of those stories people make up to go viral. But it's not. I filed the police report myself. I moved out a week later. I still sleep with the lights on. It started with the smell. Just this weird, faint odor in the hallway closet of the duplex I was renting. Sort of musty, like mildew mixed with something sour. I figured maybe something had spilled, or there was a dead mouse on the wall, or something. It wasn't strong enough to panic over, so I sprayed some cleaner around, cracked the window, and moved on with my life. But the smell didn't go away. It got worse, and that was just the beginning. I told my landlord about the smell, and he promised to send someone to take a look. Typical response time. Slow. Meanwhile, it started spreading. I'd come home from work, and it had hit me as soon as I opened the front door. Like sour milk, sweat, and something metallic, almost coppery. At night, I'd catch myself sniffing the air like a bloodhound, trying to figure out where it was coming from. It seemed to drift. One night, it was strongest near the bathroom vent. The next night, it was near the kitchen floorboards. And then, things started going missing. Nothing major at first. Just weird little things. A spoon from the sink. One of my socks. A box cutter I'd been using to open packages. I figured I was being forgetful. Maybe I'd toss a spoon in the trash with a takeout box. Maybe the sock got lost in the laundry. I wasn't sleeping well, and I had a lot on my plate, working 2 jobs and studying for a nursing exam. I didn't have the bandwidth to stress over small stuff. But one night, I came home and my bathroom mirror was fogged up. I hadn't used a shower that day. I hadn't been home since 7 a.m. The mirror was fogged like someone had taken a hot shower just minutes before I walked in. And there was a single fingerprint, one smudge, in the middle of the glass. That's when I realized I wasn't alone in that house. I know how that sounds, but I swear it was real. I stood there staring at the mirror for what felt like hours. The smudge was low, like from someone shorter than me, like a kid, but there were no kids living next door, and I sure as hell didn't have any. I started checking every door and window. Everything was locked. I hadn't seen any signs of break-in. I even checked the basement, the attic, under the bed. Nothing. The place was quiet as ever. But the smell, Jesus, it was unbearable now. I was sleeping with a hoodie pulled over my nose and mouth like I was in a gas leak. I finally got the landlord to send a guy out. He was some local handyman, mid-50s. The kind of guy who wears the same pair of work boots every day for 30 years. He walked around the place with his flashlight and said, "Maybe a raccoon died under the house." He crouched by the hallway closet and opened the little crawlspace door at the bottom. Smells strongest here. The door was only about 2 feet wide and 18 inches tall. I'd never opened it. It had a latch and a couple of old paint cans in front of it, which I'd always assumed were just leftover junk from the last tenant. He moved the cans and shined his light in. Then he paused. "Hey," he said, turning to me, "you been down here recently?" "No," I said. "Never opened that door." "Why?" He didn't say anything at first. Then he cleared his throat. "There's drag marks." like someone's been moving around down there. That night, I didn't sleep. I pushed my dresser in front of my bedroom door, locked every window again, and sat up in bed with a kitchen knife in my lap. I'm not proud of it, but I was scared. And when you're scared like that, deeply, viscerally scared, you start to realize just how alone you really are. The next morning, I went to Home Depot and bought a motion-activated camera. One of those little cube-shaped ones with night vision. I placed it right inside the Crawlspace entrance and set the app to notify me of any movement. Then I went to work. It was a double shift. When I got home just after midnight, I opened the app. There were 3 motion alerts, all around 9 p.m. I clicked the first one and waited for the video to load. Blackness at first, just the edge of the crawl space, and the faint red glow from the camera light. Then movement, a hand reaching out toward the camera. It was pale, dirty, fingernails long, cracked. The fingers trembled, like whoever they belonged to was having trouble holding still. Then a face, just barely, eyes catching the infrared glow, reflecting it like animal eyes in the dark. The face didn't come all the way into view, but it was enough. Someone had been living under my house. I called the cops. I didn't care how crazy I sounded. They showed up 20 minutes later. 2 officers, both young, both clearly used the more boring calls. I showed them the video. They exchanged a glance, then drew their weapons and entered the crawl space. They were down there for a long time, maybe 15, 20 minutes. I stayed in the hallway, hands shaking. Finally, one of them came back up. His face was pale. "There's a mattress down there," he said. "Blankets, food wrappers, some tools." Tools. I asked him what kind. He said, like knives, a hammer, that kind of thing. The other officer came up holding a ratty duffel bag and a flip phone. "No sign of him now," he said. "Looks like he bailed when he heard you coming last night. They took everything, filed a report, told me to stay with someone if I could, but I didn't have anyone, so I stayed. One more night. That was a mistake. Around 3:30 a.m., I woke up to a sound, something scraping. I sat up, heart hammering. The sound was coming from the hallway. I got up, slowly grabbed the knife again. I opened the bedroom door and froze. The crawl space door was open. The paint cans that had been in front of it were neatly stacked beside it. There was a note on the floor, written in smear black marker on the back of a pizza box. "I watch you sleep. You talk in your dreams." That was it. I left the house that second, drove straight to a motel, and stayed there for a week until I could get my stuff moved out during the day with a police escort. I never went back inside alone. They never found him. Whoever he was, he'd been living under my floorboards for at least a couple of weeks, maybe longer, coming out at night when I was asleep, eating my food, using my shower, watching me. The landlord tried to pretend he didn't know anything, but later I found out the last tenant left suddenly too. No explanation. Just broke the lease and left in the middle of the night. I don't know what the man in the crawl space wanted. I don't want to know. But sometimes when I close my eyes, I picture his face half lit in that camera. Just those eyes gleaming red. And I wonder how many nights he stood there, just watching me breathe,